What's up out there, everybody? I hope that you are doing great. My name is Josh, and today we are here for the Deal Finder Intensive. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about. It's going to be fantastic. So, whether you came to us from dealmakeratlanta.com as a part of our meetup, or you came through us from Dream Team Investors, or I know we've got some folks that are going to check this out that are from Neil's Agent Rise community and also our Hive agents. However, you got here, we're super excited that you're here today. So we've got two groups. We've got my friends that are right here on the call watching this live. And then we also know we'll have some folks that are going to tune into this, the recording of it a little bit later. So super excited. I'm going to get right into it. But before we do, I just want to first off talk to you about what we're doing tonight. And I think that's important. I want to be super respectful of everyone's time. This way, if it looks like we're going to get into something that, you thought you were going to show up for one thing and it's a different thing, it just kind of gives you a jumping off point. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about what is a deal finder system. We're going to help you find a deal market. We're going to find a deal list and market to the list. And then we're going to show you how we research the deal and respond. So before I go any further, just a brief thing, because I know there's a couple of those communities. I haven't met everyone yet. My name is Josh, along with my wife, Rachel. We are investors in Atlanta. And that's the number one thing about us. Before anything else, I could say we are real estate investors. We've built $1 million portfolio. We did it in 3 years. We are not gurus. We are not experts. We are not selling anything. We're not doing anything like that. We're just a couple that is on a mission to build a great legacy and financial freedom for our family. We're still building it. It's not the perfect portfolio yet. We're still putting it together. It's still evolving as we go. And that is what makes it exciting. In addition to that, we also own the JRB Dream Team, which is a licensed agency through Real Broker. We're really excited about that. We love helping other people find their investment properties. But if you're tuning in today, I'm going to show you how you don't even need a real estate agent. So for those of you that are like, oh, he's selling some sort of agency service, actually, I'm not. Tonight, I'm probably going to give you the keys to the castle. Um, but the last thing I'll say is the reason why we do this, our motivation is we just believe we're all stronger when we work together. And I would encourage you, if I'm selling anything, it's go to a real estate meetup somewhere and meet the people. We have one in Atlanta. Go to dealmakeratlanta.com or jrbdreamteam.com/investor. Come meet us. We meet once a month in Fayetteville and South Atlanta, and we just get in the room, talk on a topic, and then network. So that's it. If you were coming to buy coaching something, it's not here. We're not selling anything, nor am I qualified to do so. So let's jump right into it. Here is what we want you to leave with tonight. We want you to have the tools that you need to find a market. Know the process I use to find deals. I can't say there are lots of processes to find deals. So this is just one of them. There are many more. There are a million seminars and things out there, and a lot of people doing really great work. I hope you find them all and look at them all and research them all because there's a lot of good ones out there. This is just the one that we're using right now, though I imagine in a year or two it will change because we're always trying to evolve and get better. And so my ultimate goal is when you leave here, you'll be able to search for your own deals and maybe even market to some within 24 hours, which is pretty possible. So let's get into it. I want to talk about why deal flow matters because we noticed that our last session, we have a lot of investors that have only done, maybe they've done zero investments or on their first 1 to 3. Deal flow is the lifeblood of being an investor. And frankly, a lot of people, if they have courage, that's the most important part because you can find a million deals, but if you don't have the courage to invest, it won't matter. But after courage, the second most important thing is deals because you can't be an investor if you can't find a deal. And if you can't find a lot of deals, then you can't be selective. And a lot of people say, I can't find a good deal. But what they actually mean is I couldn't find enough deals to be selective to choose the right one. So I had to choose whatever crappy situation came across and try to make it work. Our goal is that we don't have to make something work. We just have a bunch of somethings and we choose the best of the best. So that's kind of what we're after. Deals create opportunity. Opportunity creates options, like I just spoke about, and options is where you get freedom. So the very first thing that we have to do is to find the right market. And I want to pause on that and say this is our process, but Rachel and I choose markets first. A lot of people go get on the Zillow and they start looking for cheap properties. That's the opposite. You can find us buy a house right now. There's quite frankly, there's a bunch of them in Macon, Georgia, as I'm making this video. You can buy houses for days at $50,000, but that doesn't make it a good deal. And in some cases, make some really bad deals. Having said that, I've got one under contract right now, just about 20 minutes from there in Warner Robins. That's an incredibly good deal. And instead of those $50,000, I'm actually going to pay $75,000 because of some of these principles. So here's another way to think about it. Choosing a market, it's like saying you got to fish where the fish are. Maybe you're the greatest fisherman or fisherwoman in the entire world. And imagine this, you've got this great boat, you've got the greatest tools, you grew up with the king or queen of fishing, and you know all that there is to know about fishing. So you get in your boat, you go in a lake, but no one told you that lake has no fish in it. So, in other words, no matter how great you are at fishing, maybe you're the greatest negotiator in the world, but it doesn't matter if there's no fish inside that lake. And so, the most important thing you do is not your hook, it's not the boat, it's not the water. Step one is to make sure you're fishing in a lake that's actually got fish in it, because you could be a horrible fisherman or fisherwoman, but if the lake's got some fish in it, you might catch something. Or as my grandpa used to say, even a blind squirrel gets a nut sometimes. So that's we stack the deck. So we choose markets, and that's the very first thing that we're going to talk about today. We strategically search for properties because opportunity exists where there are problems. So if you want real estate, find where the problems are and find the problems that you can solve. Now, I want to pause here because I'm going to get to a thing here and I'm going to actually sort of show you something. And I'm going to show you how we do it. The app that I use to do it, it is not a real estate agent app. It's actually an app that anyone can use. And frankly, I think it's better than a lot of the tools that I have as a real estate agent. Um, with that in mind, though, I want to pause here because a lot of people they believe that they've gone to a real estate meetup, right? And they're looking for that ideal property. I want to go where houses are selling at 350, $400,000, and I'm just going to magically keep hitting up list and list, and wonder why somebody doesn't bite on something. I got a friend that told me that they were searching for as many investment properties around Trilith and Fayetteville as they possibly can. Are there some there? Absolutely. But there's a whole lot more in some other places if you're searching to solve problems. You got to go where the problems are. Now, I'm going to do a little jumping off part here to talk about this right here. This is a market framework. It is not the only thing. Now, I'm putting into the chat, I think I've already put it in there, a cheat sheet too. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. Here are some things that I look for. These are market statistics that I look for to help me, first off, find the market or find the lake where all the fish are, find the market where the deals are. I like to look at population trends because if the house looks like it's a good deal and everybody's moving away from that place, no wonder it's a good deal. It's a great deal because they have more houses than people. That's not good. I like to look at income growth because if the wages are going to shoot down, no one can afford the houses. But if the wages are slowly going up, I know, especially in my game where I'm not really as concerned with flipping, I want to hold them for rentals. I know if the income is going up and I have a fixed rate mortgage, I've increased the chances that they're going to be able to pay me for the life of that loan. Now, if you're listening to this and you're a lender, that's very important to you too, because if you lended on something today, but you didn't underwrite the income growth, you could be up for a problem in about 5 years. Affordability, kind of tied to income growth, but super important. Supply versus demand. Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? And that's how I base a long-term trajectory. Now, there's some other things that I look for as well. Since you're on the call today, I'll show those for you. Now, I'm going to get into the app and show you, but now a few things to kind of mention. We are all playing different games. I'm going to go back to our analogy of fishing. Some of our clients are fishing for bass. Maybe that's a flip. Some of my clients are doing the burr strategy. Some of my clients are looking only for 3-2s that they're going to turn into pad splits. All of those are different kinds of fish. So what I'm looking for in the market is going to be slightly different for all of them. It's not going to be exactly the same. We'll see some examples of that. But I wanted to mention that today because what I want to do is show you how to do your market research to show you how to pick a lake to fish in. But please, if you're watching the call, understand that you know what your strategy is, so your choices within that might be slightly different. So let's click on over. This is an app called ReVenture, reventure.app. Again, reventure.app. I'm not selling it. I don't have a referral code. Maybe there is one. I don't have one. It's just what I use. There is a fee. I want to say I paid a couple $100 for the year. They might have a free thing that you can test it out. But the good news is if you're here today, you don't have to test it. Or if you want to come to dealmakeratlanta.com or Dealmaker Atlanta next meeting, I'll bring my computer and turn it on and let you fool around with mine to see if you like it. That way you can test it. But this is what I use to find the market. Now, let's really kind of dive into this. I am in the state of Georgia. So that's where I'm going to start. Now, you may be watching this and you're in Mississippi. We've shout out to Ashley over there in Colorado. Um, it really doesn't matter what state, the process is going to be the same. So I can click on the state and I can see the analytics and the data points. Now, we're not obviously going to use the whole state. So let's go a step further. I see my friend Dean on the call. So what I'm gonna do, Dean and I both live in the same town. Let's go to Noonan. So I'm gonna type in Noonan, Georgia. Let me move my little toolbar up here a little bit out of the way. There we go. So I'm gonna type in Noonan, Georgia. And now it's gonna kind of zoom in. And in fact, let's kind of go by county. You see, I can do metro. Let's look at county. So this is Coweta County. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So now I'm going to kind of start and let's pick a thing. Let's start with home values. Flippers, this is really important for my flippers. Zone out just a little bit. Now I'm starting by county and you can kind of see all the home values and all the counties. Let's look at home value growth year over year. Doesn't that tell a different story? Now I want to pause and go back. This is home values. If you're not careful, or especially if you're looking for an out-of-state market, notice here we see a wide range, everything from Fayette at $510,000 to Fulton 410, over there at Washington at 141. But when I click over to home value growth, at the time I'm making this recording, look at the decline. That's something else that's very important. Now, is decline bad? Not necessarily. If the market was overinflated, then the market decline is a good thing. It's resetting itself. And as an investor, I want to buy at an incredibly good deal. So frankly, sometimes I like that little negative sign because it is a signal that things are about to go on sale. Now, here's another one, for sale inventory. I can click that one. And this kind of gives me an idea of what is listed for sale on the market. Now, this isn't off-market stuff. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But look at that. Coweta, 710. Hurd, 42. Spalding, 340. I love it when a county has a large for sale inventory because that means there's a lot of competition in that market. Competition is great for buyers. If I'm trying to buy, man, I want there to be a lot of competition because that seller is going to have to give me a great price. Now, I'm not going to keep going all the way down these. I'm just going to click on a couple more and then I'm going to zone in on kind of something and we're going to pick a market. Here's a few more. Home price forecast. Now, look at that. Home price forecast is down right now for a large chunk of our state. So that tells me if I'm buying a house right now, and I'm going to refinance that house in 6 months, or if I'm a lender, I need someone else to refinance me out, or I'm going to flip it. I need to account in my underwriting at the very beginning. Again, we were talking about Noonan, Coweta County, at a 2% decline. I know that I need to go ahead and account for that at the very beginning. And this is how Rachel and I are making sure on our personal deals we don't get too out of whack because we're just accounting for it all the way back at the beginning based on this information. Now, oh my gosh, I could go on this stuff for days. Overvalued. Now, look at this. Coweta County, home prices overvalued 19.3%. Fayette, 19.4. Let's see if one of my good ones is over here. Meriwether overvalued 28.3%. But Washington is undervalued. Now, I'm not yet saying you should buy in Washington if you just tuned into this, but I'm just pointing out some things because it kind of gives us some signals where differences are in the market. You can't look at the state the same way. I'm going to show you two more things and then I'm going to skip days on market. In other words, especially if you're trying to look for a good deal, if a house just sat on the market and it's only been on the market for 5 days, and you think you're going to call me, your real estate agent, up, expecting that they're just going to drop the price $30,000, it's possible. We write those. My friend Adam gets those things for days. I don't know how he does it, but generally speaking, they're not willing yet to do deals yet. But it's kind of a measure in my opinion, of what a seller might be willing to do. Like in Pike County, when it's been sitting for about 90 days, they might be willing to make a deal now because it's been sitting for 3 months. Um, Here's another thing too. I just wanted to show this market trends. Uh, Home sales, you can check by trends. Days on market, you can check that by year over year. Inventory as a percent of houses. Investor metrics. This is what I wanted. For those of us that are in the rental game, this is not a part how I find a market, but how I check for my portfolio. This is how I check for the average vacancy rate in that area. But here is what I really like. Rent for houses. In other words, it factored out apartments. It's just houses. Now, this number matters, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So I can see here, I'm choosing a higher rent area, maybe. Coweta County, look at that rent area to Fayette County. Now, here's something that I like, and this is just my strategy. People go, well, I want to be in Fayette County because it's $2,600 average rent compared to $2,100. But keep in mind, way back up at the top, do you remember how much more an average house costs in Fayette County? And when I factor in the holding costs for a long-term note, there's actually your higher cash flows right now are actually in Coweta when I factor in expenses, not Fayette. Now that's true today. When some of you, by the time you watch it, it may not be true, but it's true today. So rent for houses matters. And here's one last one. Rent as a percentage of income. Now I can dig in and find out, but in Coweta County, let's show the weakness there. People are paying such a high rent that that rent is making up 21% of their income. So I have to ask myself a question. If safety is what I value, is that sustainable? Maybe you think it is. Maybe you think that it's not. All right. So now let's walk through how I would actually use this in a novel situation. Okay, and we're going to actually drive down to zip code. So I'm looking at the cheat sheet ideas PDF that I put into the chat. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just to get you going and get you starting. And if you have Chat GPT or some form of AI, what I would challenge you to do is go to it, type in your strategy, tell it, I'm going to use Reventure or whatever tool to try to help me find the best house that I can buy for this strategy. Based on what you know about the filters in Reventure, give me the top 10 filters and what you believe I should be looking for. I will tell you in the interest of full disclosure, The one that I actually am searching is not this one because mine's a little counter, and I'll briefly hint at it later, but we just started doing it, so I haven't tested it yet. So I didn't want to share it today in case it's an epic fail. That would be really bad. That would not be cool of me. But we're actually attempting something now quite counter to this, but this is the average. So let's get started. I want to find a market in Georgia where the median home price is somewhere in this range. You'll see it has a primary target. It needs to be under 225. The sweet spot is 150 to 210, and the secondary value is 125 to 175. Now, where is that difference? It depends on your strategy. If you're going to flip, then go into Fayette County and buy you a house at 225 and sell it for 410. There you go. But at 225, using the 1% rule, you can't hold a house at 225 because that house has to then rent for $2,250, most likely. And that's after expenses. So that formula doesn't work there. That's how I choose to check it, is that 1% rule. So for me in the Burr strategy, I'm typically targeting a house with a median home price, believe it or not, of 75,000 to 125,000. Now that's where I'm at. I'm at South Atlanta. Wherever you're at, it may be different, but that's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to come over here to median home price. Um, I should back that up. That's my sale price that I'm looking for is 75 to 125. Let me correct that real quick. But the home value that I'm searching for is around that 210 to 250 mark, and I'm going to purchase it at 75 to 125. That's better stated. I got ahead of myself. Forgive me. So now I'm going to come up here to median home price, popular data. Oh, median home price, where did you go? Oh, there it is, home value. There it is. So, home value. By the way, on this thing, see this little thing? You can click this little icon and actually watch a video, and it'll explain what every one of these is exactly. So, now, believe it or not, I own most of what our family owns is in this little area, but it's not my primary search anymore for this reason. I'm looking for 250. So here's Meriwether, here's Troop, and here's Herd. That's close enough. We'll use it. So just for the sake, by the way, you could use this whole state, but we're gonna start in here. So I've identified three potential counties right here. Now let's go a step further. Now I want a price growth trend of 0 to 6%. In other words, I kind of want to see that the home values might be growing. So I'm going to look at home value growth 5 year for 5 years. Now this is looking at the previous 5 years. That's not predicting the future 5 years. But look at this. Oh, man, all of these qualify by far. In fact, most of Georgia qualifies. Now keep in mind the time I'm making this video, how close I am to coming out of COVID. That has to be stated. So can I trust just this number? Absolutely not. Single family home growth year over year. Let's click that one. Now isn't that better? Meriwether went down. Herd and Troop. Look at that. Still in the running. Herd and Troop. So I'm getting deeper. Inventory, rising inventory. Why? Because if it's a rising inventory, I'm going to find a lower cost. So now I can come over here and let's look for rising inventory. Where's one of these that will be sort of inventory? Hey, looking for for sale inventory. There it is right there. And look at that, still in the running. Troup County, still there. So I can keep going down my list. And I'm going to, in fact, I'll stop there to keep us going. But that's something to see. And that's how I do it. So again, just to recap, You can get on ChatGPT with your strategy and come up with your top 10 and then use RE Venture to zone in. Now, if you've attended the meetup and we've talked a lot, this is not enough to choose the market. Now, I'm going to choose Troop, but that is not enough. So let's go into zip code range because zip codes can mean very different things. Here we go. So now what I could do is zip it up. I wonder why it's not letting me hover over this little area right here. Let's go back to county. Let's go to zip. See if that fixes it. I don't know. For some reason today, maybe this data is updating. I can't get in here, but normally you can because I've actually gone to Troop a lot. So let's skip over to another county, Meriwether, right next door. It was pretty close. And so in Meriwether, I'm going to look at zips. Now, if you know Meriwether, these are very different areas. This little area right here touches Noonan. So for sale inventory. In fact, let's give you some examples of home values. This little area right here, $454,000. I mean, look at that, right? That's pretty high. But now, if I want to zoom right over here to Barnesville, look how it dropped down $200,000. And look at what it is at Woodbury. It came way down for Woodbury. And so this is something I wanted you to see tonight when you're choosing your market. This tool really helps you because you got to go down to zip code because there are drastically different things within the zip code that people don't look at often. So let's do this. I could click here. In fact, let's pick an area. Let's see, that's kind of Spalding County over there. Let me make sure I'm in the right place. There we go. Meriwether. So let's take a look at this. And you can click on a zip code and it'll pull it up, but we'll do it by county because I know we got to move quickly looking at the time. So from here, once I dig in, and by the way, in my crazy formula, Meriwether is actually one of the ones that I am currently in looking for deals. I can right now, without clicking all these, look at this. Rent appreciation, 38. It's got a score. Days on market is 47. Inventory is back down, and then we're looking at sort of price cuts. So let's look at home value growth. Look at that. Home value growth is going down. And I love how it's down below. So guess what this means? It means it's a buyer's market. Let's look at inventory is going up, right? That's why it's a buyer's market because there's more houses than people want, which screams deals, deals. Overvalued. Let's look at that. Deals, deals, deals. But historically, on this data, the price is down, but the deals may still be 28% too high. Now, let's go into some demographics. Let's look at population growth. Look at that. The population is growing slowly, but the population is growing measurably in Meriwether County. And if I take out this little COVID blip right here, it's been growing. You can see it was growing from 2010 all the way to here, took a blip during COVID, and now it's picking right back up. And that's something else I love about this app is I can kind of follow the trend and I can see when something's just a blip or when it could be a big deal. Um, Home ownership rate. Look at that. Home ownership is going up. Now, if I have a rental that I might want to sell later, isn't that a pretty cool trend that I know that something magical is happening? Now, let's look at poverty rate. Poverty rate in Meriwether County. By the way, I chose this county because no one's looking at it right now. Poverty rate is going down in Meriwether County. It's not going up. So what does that tell you about the potential for someone to rent your property or someone to get that house flipped when you're looking at long term? That's interesting. Um, there you go. Birth rate. Births are happening. Now, I'm going to quit going down all these. These are some fun ones. You can see who votes Democrat, who votes Republican. That has nothing to do with this conversation. I just find it funny. Now, rent rate. Look at this. So let's talk about houses for rent. Look at this. It's going
Hmm.
up. It's not going down. Now, if I were to put this on Coweta, this number is going to be way past 945. So that tells me that there's deals here, but I need to buy these houses pretty cheap for that rent to matter. Last but not least, and I'm going to stop this because we got to get to the next part. Look at this overvalued rental market. Now, can I just really quickly, since you're on the call today, tell you about a strategy you might could consider? Um, what if, what if you are looking for areas that might have slightly higher poverty than other investors are looking for? The home values are not going downward, but they were just low to start off with. It's say an area maybe like this one, where if a house was going to generally be valued 180, you might could buy that same house distressed for $50,000. Because remember the rent's only 949, 50,000. Uh, what if you only had to put 20,000 into it? Now it's a 70, you bought it at 50, now it's a $70,000 house. Uh, Now your average payment on that for someone, you're all in at 700 bucks. Now, maybe just maybe you sell that same house, you have that property by the way, you work with your lender to put it into a long-term note. What if you then own or finance it to someone again with your lender knowing that you did it and with permission? So I have it on a note with my lender at a 5-year interest rate, uh 5-year term. We'll call it a payment of $600 a month, but yet I have owner financed that out to someone at a higher payment because it's a higher interest rate, and I have them down pay 10 to $15,000 up front, their price of home ownership. So now it's not a $70,000 note, it's a $50,000 note, which by the way, in the scenario, I would give the lender 100% of that money and thank them for allowing me to do this. Do you realize that I just made the same cash flow that I made in Coweta County? I am down paying that till I own it in full at a fast rate. The other person is an owner carry, so they're responsible for the insurance, they're responsible for all the stuff. And the last thing I'll stop there is there's a book called The Art of the Slow Flip. That's where you need to go for that strategy. And it's not what we're here to do today, but that is the strategy that I'm hunting in Meriwether County. And everything you need to know is in that book called The Art of the Slow Flip. Now I'm going to go back. So we just talked a little bit about how I find a market. We said you're going to go to ChatGPT, find sort of the formula for your strategy, and then use Reventure to dig down. That's part one. Oh, look, I kind of gave you the things that I'm looking for right now. Here's my secret strategy that I'm not saying it works yet because we have not done a lot of these. So I'm not endorsing it. I'm just, is the journey I'm on at the moment. I'm actually doing the opposite of this, and I'm looking at poverty rates, home value trends. I'm paying more attention to rent rates. Because if I'm going to give them owner finance term, I want my ownership for them to be the same price their peers are paying in rent. So why would they do business with me and pay $15,000 down? Because if they pay that down, they're renting to own. That's the value, that's the problem that I am solving. I want something that's got high days on market, and I'm paying a lot of attention to price to income ratio. So there you have it. I'm gonna keep going, but there's a little thing. Now, already did that. Reventure.app, there's the website for you. Let's keep trucking. So step two, let's say, and we'll just say we found a market and we found Noonan. I love Noonan. Let's go. We found Noonan. Noonan's the market, which is right next door to Meriwether. And we need to find the seller. So we found a market, we found the lake. We know it's got fish in it because RE Venture told us there, but how in the world do we find those fish? I mean, do I need the right lure, the right pole? Do I need a boat? Can I use a cane pole? That's what we have to figure out. So we have to figure out who our ideal seller is. Here are some ideal sellers.
Hmm.
My advice, was that a question, Dean? Gotcha. Sorry, I thought I heard something. So what I would do is to pick one of these, and there's more than these. ChatGPT can help you find them, but there's probate, there's distressed, absent or absentee homeowners, tax delinquent, foreclosure, etc. If you've seen my social media, you've noticed Josh is chasing the hoarder houses. I'm chasing hoarder houses. Hoarder houses is pretty much there with distressed because we got to go back to how we started this presentation tonight. Who needs your help and who will receive your message? Because this is a numbers game. And so here's where I find it. I'm going to take you right in today and let's go look. I use PropStream. Believe it or not, I have access to the Georgia MLS, um, and the FMLS and all these MLSs as a real estate agent. But frankly, I like PropStream because I think it's easier, it's more intuitive. And so a lot of my real estate agent friends, they're like, how are you finding all these deals? They're not out there. I find them through PropStream. By the way, we're fixing to find deals that are not on Zillow. Where am I getting all these deals? Rachel and I just we've bought four houses in the last 90 days. Not a single one of them were on the MLS. How did we do it? Well, here we go. Well, some of to be fair on those four, one person that did not come from this sent some of those our way, but this is how we're searching. So this is PropStream. So with PropStream, I'm going to come in now and I need to find the people that are my people that have the problem I'm going to solve. So let's start with Coweta County. I'm going to type that into the search. And here it comes. Man, look at that. It found all kinds of great things. 64,000 properties. Oh my goodness, that's too big of a list. Unless you got a lot of money, you don't want to market to that list. Now, up at the top of this screen, we have off market and we have on market. Let me drag my little zoom bar out of the way real quickly. I'm gonna put it over here. So we have off market and we have on market. So I'm gonna mess around with these filters. Now, I pause right here. Some of you, there's some cheap shortcuts right here. If you just want to find cash buyers or those are people who have bought houses and paid in cash, you can click there. By the way, as a real estate agent, if you're a real estate agent, where am I finding all these people that pay in cash so that I can be the real estate agent? I click that list because there's all the people paying in cash. Bank owned auctions, but I'm a little bit more technical than that. So let's click on filters. And here's some more lists. So pre-probate, senior owners. There's a whole lot of folks. Um, oh, tired landlords. There's another one. What is a tired landlord? It's somebody that already owns rental real estate in this area and they've owned it a while. How does it know they're tired? Because they've been paying for so long. They got either 100% equity or a whole lot of equity. There's a list right there. Vacant. These are people that own a house in this area, but they don't live there. So we know they're being rented, and there's a chance that that's maybe somebody died and then somebody else inherited that house and they don't actually want it. But if you send them a message, you could get to it. So here are all these things right here. For some of you today, you could click this right here, get you a list, and then skip on. Now, me, I, I'm a little more complicated than that. So now I'm now going to take you down to what I'm searching for. So I want a minimum of 3 bedroom houses because what I love is when I can pad split that baby. If it's a 3-2, it probably can become a 6-2. So 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Year built. Um, Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll buy anything, but for the very first time, one of my private money lenders, we found a house built in the 1800s, and he reminded me that what was it? The guy that invented flight, I forget, Orville or whatever. I feel bad. History people forgive me. Was like figuring out how to fly a plane when this house was being built, and he was like, "No, man, not gonna do it." So I'll start at like 1930 here. Most people are gonna keep that up around the 1970s, but whatever. There's mill houses in this area. I personally do not like to buy houses in HOAs. Hate it, don't want to pay the fees, not going to do it. Swimming pools, absolutely not, because I did one of those this past year. And let me just tell you, by the time I got that dang thing fixed and then paid to maintain it, it wasn't worth it to me. So I exclude pools, just not going to do it. Garage, I like them. Basements. Don't like dealing with it, but I like to keep them on there because split levels sometimes come up with that. And that's why I leave it. PropStream intelligence, I don't mess with that. I think it like scans photos or something. Now, here we go. On market and off market. If I was going to search on market, I wouldn't do any of this crap. I would go to Zillow. I mean, it's faster and it's free. So what am I doing right now? I'm finding deals that I'm fishing in a pond that no one else is looking for, right? So I'm going to click off market. I ain't looking for the on market stop stuff. Anybody can get that. Listing type. I'm looking for stuff that's not for sale yet because they don't know it's for sale yet. I'm going to tell them it's for sale. So all this MLS stuff, no. Now, pre-foreclosure. Yeah, I want that included. I mean, that's a problem somebody might need me to solve by giving them a cash offer, right? Owner occupied. This you can go either way. Sometimes I do this list, sometimes I don't do this list. I will tell you if the list is big enough of owner not occupied, that's a good thing. That's a whole lot of people that have extra houses and they might not want them. I'm gonna keep scrolling down. Individual, you can filter this out between is it a corporate house or an individual. Now be very careful. Corporate doesn't mean like BlackRock. Like I own a LLC and everything that's in that LLC is technically a corporate owned LLC, but I'm just John Doe popcorn eater. I'm not anybody important. So don't think corporate necessarily means like, Bill Gates owns it. That might not be what that is. Now, I'm going to scroll on down. Let's see, last sale date, pre-boat, all these things you can filter by. Look, tax exempt status, cemetery. Yeah, well, there you go. Liens, bankruptcy. Maybe you're hunting for folks that are divorced and need to sell their house. I mean, PropStream can help you build a list. Here's where I like to go. Estimated value. In my personal strategy, I can tell you right now that if that house is valued over 350, it doesn't fit in my personal buy box. So I eliminate those. But not everybody might. My friend Richard, man, he's buying incredible houses in Fayette County. He just finished up one that looks awesome, and that house is worth almost $500,000. So he wouldn't do that. Just depends on your strategy. Um, Estimated rental income. If I'm buying in Noonan, this house has to have a minimum rental income for it to even be possible. I would mark it as low as 1,000 because that picks up duplexes. But if it's under that, knowing what I have to pay for it in Coweta County, how do I know those numbers? Because RE Venture told them to me. I don't mess time. Estimated equity. Now, I don't like to mark here. I like to do equity as a percentage. So I already know that chances are, because remember, I'm going to market to this list, and marketing to the list is going to cost money. So I don't want to pay money for most likely people who aren't going to convert. So for me, they have to have a minimum of 30% equity in the house because that's a basic, I mean, 80/20 is a basic conventional mortgage, right? So they need to have at least 30. And frankly, if the list is long, I prefer to back that on down to 50. But to keep us with a big list today, we'll start at 30. That number right there is a big old filter, and it's a good one. Some people I know do loan to value. They're searching for people who have almost paid off their property. I like the equity number better, but both kind of get you there a different way. Just depends on what your strategy is. Look at this number of open mortgages. I like to have a max of three because if it gets past that, that sounds like a whole lot of title work. And even at three is a bunch. Most people I know would say, hey, I'll take a primary and a HELOC. I'm willing to do a primary HELOC and maybe something else. But that's as far as I'm going because my time is valuable. Interest rate, I don't care. I love it when they got a high interest rate. That means they got a problem and I can solve it. Cash buyer, seller, carryback. There you go. So there's this big old monstrosity. I just filtered this thing down. I still have 4,982 properties. So I'm going to click this button real quick just to show you something. And here are all the properties that it found. Now, I kind of want to filter something on this really quickly. Notice I say Coweta County. Now, at RE Venture, because I've already cheated and know, I happen to know that the more affordable properties and better deals are located in the zip code 30263. So now I'm going to keep the same filters, but I'm going to narrow it down. See, I cut the thing in half, and here they are. Now, while we're here, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you how to market to this group of people. I can scroll over here now, and I can see something. So, for example, I'm going to show you, we'll talk about somebody could call you when you market to them, and they call, hey, my name is John Doe, and I live at 3775 Tommy Lee Cook Road. Look how much I can click this. There's the last pictures, and look at the data I now have at my fingertips. How do I know how much to offer them? Well, here's the value. I can see that they have one open mortgage. They have one involuntary lien. I don't know what that is, but there it is. Somebody's got a lien on something. The estimated value and the involuntary. This is what the MLS says it might be worth. And I love that PropStream does this. And I will tell you, it's not always 100% accurate, but the goal is not to get 100% accurate right here. The goal is just to get some information. Equity estimated $128,000 of equity. Estimated wholesale price. Now, I love this because that means before I even do any math, which is a whole thing we'll talk about later at another thing, but I need to find out like, is it 65% after repair value? Look, it's going to go ahead and give me a wholesale price. There's my potential yield. It tells me what the monthly rent rate. I have found that to be eerily close in Coweta. I speak a lot about Coweta because most of what I own is there. And here we go. Now, throughout all this stuff, I can look at their lien details. How did, for those of you that are lenders and somebody sent you a comp, look at this. I can click this, and now I can actually see the comps and see what comps it's pulling for that. Demographics. By the way, demographics, why does that matter? I like to buy houses in predominantly owner neighborhoods rather than rental neighborhoods because remember, if it's a rental neighborhood, that price is not necessarily, the rent rate is not necessarily solid. It can fluctuate a lot. So I like to buy in areas where most people around that house actually kind of own it. So I'll stop there because we might come back to it later. By the way, mortgage, this is a good one. This is a good one right here. When I'm talking on the phone with somebody and they go, oh, well, I can't sell it to you for that because I just owe more. Hmm. I can come through here and I can see if they're lying. Estimated loan balance, 173,000, an estimated loan payment. Now that loan payment may or may not include insurance and things, but that gets me pretty close to it, right? So how do I know when I'm talking to somebody what they're now do I tell them, "Hey, you're lying to me." I don't do that. Of course not. That's horrible negotiation. But I already know despite what they tell me, there's most likely some wiggle room there. All right, now keep in mind since we're investors, if it's a somebody that bought a house to flip and it went upside down, they may tell you they owe more and they may be telling you the truth because you have no idea what's not recorded by their private money lender. So that's an important fact to know. All right, I need to keep going because of time. So we found an area. We found this list, right? We found these 2,100 and whatever properties. So what you can do here, and I'm not going to do it because I don't actually want to save this list of my thing, but you can now save this list and you just found a list of people. We just found 2,137 people in this town that have the exact house. And I even identified some pain points that they might want to sell me the house for. Especially when I look up here. I mean, some of them are bank owned. Where are some of you guys finding all these foreclosures? There they are, right there. Pre-foreclosures. There are 21 folks in this zip code right now that are going to go into foreclosure unless we step in as investors and help them and save them. Maybe we can help their credit by getting them a cash offer and get them out. All right, so now I'm going to come over here and I now need to market to this list. So I'm going to click campaigns. And you can click new campaign. Now you can see here, remember, so for those of you who thought, oh, he's lying. No, 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 Greenville, that's in Meriwether County. This is a list that I'm building out right now. Now, I haven't done it yet. I haven't bought this one and sent it, so we're not using it yet. Let's click over here to Noonan. You can see here, this is one that I actually did. So that's important. So you know it's a deal that's actually done. Let's open it. All you're going to do is click new campaign and follow the steps, by the way. That's it. Here's what it looked like. There's a postcard. If you're like, how do I create that? There's stock templates in PropStream. It already has it there. Where did these addresses come from? You tell it which list that you saved and it puts them on there. You can even customize some stuff. And then you click send out. Now I'm not gonna click send out because I don't want to do it again. But this is it. Now, a few key components. I'm not going to break this down because you literally just follow the steps. And if you have any questions, just call me. Uh, Fun fact, that house right there is actually a house I own. I customized this one. But you could go through PropStream. Here's an example. This one, I haven't sent it out yet. But let's see. Will it show you the actual card that I'm doing? It did a second ago. Postcard. Of course it's not because whatever. So I'll go back to here. Nothing ever goes like you want it to when you're actually on the thing doing it, right? Greenville. Oh, there it is. It's unpublished. So here's one. This is literally a stock postcard that I have. And that's it. PropStream is going to mail it. It's going to mail it to all these folks. Now, one thing I want to point, if you see this phone number, by the way, this is my actual live number. In fact, let me come back here to make sure I did edit it. I believe I did. That's my actual live number. If you want to write it down and call it tonight, feel free. Just, I'll do it tonight or tomorrow. So if you call it, I don't mistakenly have somebody call you back thinking you're going to try to sell me a house. But call that number tonight. Here's what that number is. Somebody receives this card from that list. They call that number and there's a voicemail. You can call it tonight and hear it. The voicemail says, hello, I am whoever from JRB Dream Properties. This is how our program works. We are wanting to buy houses. We pay for cash. This is what we do. If you're interested in this program, if you'll leave a message at the beep that has the address of the property, some details, someone will call you back. And again, if you want to hear an example of that, just call that number tonight. And I'm going to ignore anyone that calls it tonight. That's part of why I held off on running that Greenville one because I knew I was going to do the Zoom call. I didn't want to get it confused. So you can call that number and the person gets a voicemail and they're going to leave a message. Now, what happens when I get the message before I ever call them back? I go back into PropStream, I hear the address that they gave me, and I type it in the search bar. So I could type it right here. Let's go to well, I'm typing somebody's random house, but I could type it in right here. And I go in the search bar and I look for it. And when I look for that house, like this one, let's say this person called me. Before I ever call them, I go in here and I figure out, I already know when I call them in advance, most likely what my highest offer is going to be. And I can see pretty eerily close. If it's in my neighborhood, I'll even go drive past it, right? Now, here's a little math on that. You send that out to about 2,000 people. You're going to get about 20 voicemails. From those 20 voicemails, you're going to call them back. About 12 to 15 are actually going to pick up the phone. Out of that, you're going to talk to some on the phone. They're not going to work when they figure out you're going to offer them cash and they figure out whatever. That's going to get you down to about five. And out of those five, you will generally get offers on about one to three. And out of the one to three, you probably get one that's a potential contract. That's not even good math. That's just the math that we did on a previous one that we did out of Deal Finder. So now I'm going to come back to here, but that's the basic thing. So just to recap, so you don't miss it, we used PropStream to build a list. PropStream will market the postcards to the list. There is a fee for that. The fee, I think it's like 55 cents a postcard or something, maybe less than that. I can't remember. And in fact, just so I can give you some costs, let's go back to campaigns and see if you can see what I paid. for this one that I did here. Does it tell us? No, of course not, because I want you to know. So now it doesn't tell. So I sent 608 off of this one. Um, and I want to say, I don't know, it might have been maybe a couple $100 was what it was, maybe not even that much. So, anyways, I mark it to the list. By the way, I didn't cold call anyone. I didn't sell anybody anything. These people then call the voice number of their own free will and leave a message. Um, for those of you that are paranoid, do I get an occasional person that calls and is angry that I sent them a postcard? Absolutely. They'll call and they'll be like, "How dare you send me this postcard?" Blah, blah, blah. I don't usually get a bunch. I get one or two of those. And you know what I do when I get those? I do what they ask. I don't call them back and I take them off my list and I don't mail them again. There's no need to get upset about it. Um, yeah, I have called someone before and they say, "Hey, thank you for calling me back. How do you keep sending me mail? This is weird." I just go, "Hey man, I use the software called PropStream and it pulled some tax records and I just tell them." So there's never any hard feelings or big deal or anything like that. So I'm gonna get us back to here because really and truthfully, this is the process is I buy the list, I send the postcard, they leave the message, I return a call and make an offer. Now, when I return the call and I make an offer, let's say I looked up in PropStream and saw, we'll use some round numbers, that the house was $100,000, so we can use a round number. I already know I'm not going to offer more than 65,000. So I talk to him on the phone and I just say, "Hey, as you heard from our voicemail, we offer folks that are really struggling to get out of their house a cash offer. It's pretty fair. What do you think?" And if they push me and they go, "Hey, no, 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 no," because my goal is to try to get a visit to their house to go check it out, right? But if they really go, "Hey, no, absolutely not. You need to tell me on the phone," I say, "Well, okay, that's fair enough." It'll be around about this number because I need to go look at your house and search it. But my cash offer will be a little more or a little less, but it'll be somewhere around $65,000. Does that interest you? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. But I'm not worried about the 9 times out of 10 because you can become a millionaire on the 1 time out of 10. And I think that's what a lot of people forget. They go, "But 9 times out of 10, you got told no." I was like, "Yeah, but one for every 10, I got told yes." And I built that to 100 to $150,000 of equity at a time. So I'm not concerned. In fact, I love when I get a no because that means I'm getting a little bit closer to getting that yes because you will get a yes at some point, some point. So I promise I'm getting towards the end of this to answer some questions. Um, Here's the process map that we covered today. I select a market. I market to a problem. Remember, PropStream had a lot of different lists, and you could choose your one. I like quarter homes, so I focus a lot on distressed. They leave a voicemail, I reply to the voicemail, and I make an offer. It's pretty much that simple in one aspect. Now, there are some team members that you can use to help you move faster. So, because investing is a team sport, so here they are. Investor agent. Um, you don't need a real estate agent. This is quite frankly how you could bypass all of us. But what do you do when you're ready to make an offer? Why would I show all this to you? Number one, we're all stronger when we move together. But I mean, when it's time to make a contract, you don't know how to make a contract, call me on the phone and go, "Josh, I found a house using your system. Will you write the contract?" Sure. I'll write the contract. It's not a problem. Contractor, if you're going to fix the house, you probably need someone that's going to swing that hammer. So I would say if you know you're going to pull list and you're going to start focusing on Meriwether County or um, up there in Buckhead or wherever, you might want to know somebody up there if you're going to fix houses that actually fixes the houses. That's important. Closing attorney, this is a big one. No matter what strategy in Georgia, you're going to use a closer. I highly advise you to go ahead and figure out what closing attorney. By the way, if you're here today and you come to Deal Maker Atlanta meetup, this meeting coming up, we're going to talk about buy box, but the one after that, we're doing one called Show Me the HUD. And we're going to invite everyone to bring a closing settlement, bring one of your HUDs. We're going to put them on a table for everyone to see. And what we're looking for is the fees. What are all of us paying? What are the differences in all of our attorney fees? Who are the attorneys that are doing the same job and charging the least amount? Which insurance companies are really high? Or your mortgage broker? How are your fees lining up compared to your friends? That's the stuff we're getting ready to do. It was not my idea. Richard Silkin came up with that called Show Me the HUD. And I was like, that's epic because I want to know. So again, that will be the March deal maker meeting. Insurance. If you're going to buy a house, you got to insure it. A lender, I recommend you know two. You probably want a private money lender, a private hard money lender. Um, and also, if you're going to hold the property, you need to be able to get out from under that. So you need to know a mortgage broker. I like the tool of a DSCR note. We can talk more about that later. That's what I prefer. But you need to know two of those. By the way, if you don't know any of those, reach out to me. I said Dean's name. Dean's a lender. He's on the call. Um, and we know several others that are here in the Atlanta market. Come to one of our meetups. Say, Josh, introduce me to a lender, and I'll introduce you to a lender, and you can actually meet one. And optional is a property manager. When you're getting started, you probably don't need that. But like, I don't live anywhere near Meriwether. So one of the things that's on my radar is if I get one of these in the rentals, I need a company to manage those because this guy ain't driving over there all the time to Meriwether County. I got too much stuff going on. So there you go. Uh, Power team gaps. This is what you need to think about. Which roles do you have? Which roles do you need? And understand Rachel or I, or really anyone in our area, we can help you get connected. So here's your action plan, finishing up. Because if you watched all this and you made it this whole hour and you do nothing, then what the reason did you tune in for? Number one, you got to find a market. You could do that tonight. Two, you got to buy and market to your list. I would challenge you to maybe not do all that in one night because then you might just get too haphazard. Like really think about what you're going to do and activate the plan. You got to set up a Google Voice. My voicemail is a Google Voice. I don't know if I said where it came from. Why does Google Voice? There are better ones out there? Absolutely. Because I'm cheap and Google Voice is free. And as I grow in my business, I'll probably use Call Rise or Call Fire or one of the bigger, better ones. But why am I using Google Voice? Because I'm cheap and it's free and it does what I need it to do. Um, Respond to your voicemail. I have to be, I'll just be honest with you. The first time I did it, I got those phone calls in and I got paralyzed because I had to actually call and talk to these people. I'm not gonna lie to you. When it happens to you, if you're like, I'm stupid. No, 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 no. I was scared to death. Um, and then, most of them went well. One or two of them, they're like, why are you leaving me a postcard? I'm like, well, if you didn't want the postcard, why don't you just throw it in the trash can? But oh well, story for another day. And then write an offer. When it gets time to write an offer, call us. We can help you with that part. Or frankly, you don't even have to use a real estate agent to write an offer. There are places out there that can show you forms that you can do it. Obviously, I recommend you do it because they understand Georgia law or whatever state you're in, but that is not required. In fact, quite frankly, the more you go in your real estate investing career, the less you're going to use agents because you get better and better at it. You don't need representation in the long run. But in the short term, man, I highly recommend it. So the last couple slides is closing this Friday at 6:30 p.m. Rachel and I and Jeremy, our 3-year-old, we're going to IHOP to eat pancakes. And anyone's invited. Just shoot us an email or let us know why, just so we can get you a take. Now, we're not buying everybody's lunch, right? Everybody's, you come, we're all going to hang out. But if you want to talk more and you kind of want to just sort of talk about real estate in general or just talk about life, once a month, man, we just get together to sort of hang out. And then the last thing on here is our next Dealmaker Atlanta meetup is coming up February the 26th. And we're talking about how to build a buy box. Maybe you watched this tonight and we got to PropStream and you're like, crap, I was hoping you were going to tell me where all the deals were. I didn't realize that there's a lot of different kinds of deals because, by the way, a deal that is great for a flipper might not be good for a burr investor. Because a flipper can make $100,000 on a house that they buy for 250 and sell for 400 or whatever. But that burr investor, that won't work when the rent rates won't go that high. So it's two different strategies, right? But if you don't know what you're going to do, or you just want to see what other people are doing, that's what we're talking about at Dealmaker Atlanta. That's coming up. That's the sole purpose. We meet at the Line Creek Bus Barn, which is a brewery. But hey, half the group doesn't even have a beverage. They just show up with maybe they bring their own beverage, coffee or Coca-Cola sit, nothing like that is required. But if you want to learn more about that, just go to dealmakeratlanta.com. And yeah, that's what we're talking about. So In closing, what I'm getting ready to do is stop the recording so we can sit on here and with the folks on the call talk more about it and sort of answer questions. But if you're watching the recording and all, we hope, if you have any feedback, shoot us a message. And again, I just want to restate, I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a guru. I'm not saying this is the way. It is just a way, but it is a way that is working for us right now. So thank you for being here, and hopefully this information helped you out some.